On behalf of Polkadot, a very warm welcome here in Hong Kong. I'm based in Hong Kong, by the way, so I'm very excited to see so many faces join us here from overseas. And I'm particularly excited to welcome Thomas, the COO and CFO of the Web3 Foundation, which is the foundation behind Polkadot. So we're going to have like a 20 minutes fireside chat here, the two of us, and then afterwards move on to a panel discussion with builders on Polkadot. Now, before I get into it, who am I and why am I moderating this conversation here? So I'm kind of having two different roles within the Polkadot ecosystem. One is what you can see here, Polkaport East, which is a growth and IR initiative for Polkadot in Hong Kong. And the second thing is Harbor Industrial Capital, which is a Polkadot-focused VC fund, also based out of Hong Kong, and focused on investing in early-stage startups within the Polkadot ecosystem. So with that, let's get started with our conversation with Thomas. Thomas, very, very nice having you here. Flew in from Switzerland to Hong Kong. Let's start a little bit with your background. I mean, you've been in the Polkadot space for quite a long time. Maybe can you walk us a little bit through your journey in Polkadot? When did you first meet Gavin, for example, and how did you decide to become involved at the foundation for Polkadot?
Yeah, thanks, Max. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. I kind of came into the Polkadot ecosystem through my business angel and venture capital activity. Started doing that in 2006 and then went into the rabbit hole of Bitcoin. And in Switzerland, as you are well aware of, there was this development of the crypto valley around Zug, greater area Zug and Zurich. And hence a lot of protocols and projects were arriving and kind of developing and launching. And I followed these protocols. And then in 2019, I had my first touch point with Polkadot. So quite early, was participating in the funding, the private sales. And 3 years ago, Web3 Foundation got in touch with me again because he had to fill a position as CFO. And we engaged after having certain discussions. I kind of took that opportunity, and a couple of months later, my mandate got broadened a bit. Today, I'm responsible for the operations and finance of the Web3 Foundation.
Okay, then let's dive directly into this topic. What is it really that the Web3 Foundation does for Polkadot, and maybe also how did the role of the foundation change over time?
Yeah. I think the mission of the foundation didn't change a lot since the establishment back in 2017 it was. So it has always been fostering and supporting the development of the decentralized web. And we do that through supporting Polkadot, through the development of Polkadot, which is our native protocol. We have a canary protocol, test protocol, Kusama, but the main focus is on Polkadot. And for me, it's really important that the people here recognize that Web3 Foundation is not the managing entity or the manager behind the protocol, but rather a shepherd, a coordinator. And all decisions actually related to the future of the protocol are taken by the dot holders through open governance.
That's a good keyword. So there's governance on the one hand side, and then there's the foundation on the other hand side. For the foundation, what are some of like the key programs that you're running to support the growth?
So I first probably go into the growth drivers and then the programs. So if we talk about growth drivers, what the foundation really does, the clusters within the foundation, we have 3 of them. So the first is a cutting-edge research team. A lot of people don't know that, but we have quite a big team actually focusing on research in cryptography, in game theory, and in economics. And these findings flow them back into the engineering work that is being done by Parity, who is our core engineering entity. And then we have education and governance coordination, which shouldn't be underestimated as well, because education is kind of the layer of the adoption, right? If you do not educate people, if you do not communicate what Polkadot is capable to do, the adoption will not follow, right? So these 2 pillars are actually not as known as the other one, and the biggest, the last, is actually the funding program. So we have a dedicated grants program, which has 3 subclusters. The first one is the regular grants program, which is publicly known, very transparent, and we supported over 600 teams and projects so far in the past. And if we talk about the amounts given away, we talk about millions, right? It's really material. And it's all about supporting open software development. Then we have a second layer, a second cluster, where this is called Founders Grants Program, where we really want to catch the talents very early, at the early stage, and support them. And the third one is a strategic grants program. Everything else that doesn't fit in the other 2 boxes goes into that program. And there we talk also about bigger tickets.
Got it.
Yeah.
When talking about this funding, you often mention the flywheel effect that the foundation is trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, let me first dive into other programs we have actually. So we have this funding program, but recently we also launched Decentralized nodes.
Okay.
Under the umbrella of decentralization, which we are a firm believer in. Decentralization and resilience is basically the core kind of non-negotiable point for Polkadot. We launched Decentralized nodes where we have an application process. Potential validators can actually apply, go through that application process, and once they pass that, we basically nominate them to be in the active set. Then we have a second program that was launched a couple of months ago, Decentralized Voices, again under this resilience, decentralization umbrella, where we try to achieve also diversification on the open gov side, right? We have quite an active open governance framework and active community, and we strive for that. This is kind of something we want to see. However, the foundation has quite a lot of dot holdings, and we actually abstain from voting whenever we can. So by doing that, we established actually wanted to activate that voting power and established decentralized voices where DAOs, teams within the ecosystem can apply again. If they pass, we actually nominate or delegate the voting power to them so that they can actively contribute to the open governance.
Got it. And then there's a third one, Decentralized Futures.
Yeah, Decentralized Futures was one of the biggest actually. So that was launched back end of 23 when we had a resetting within Parity and Web3 Foundation. We wanted to focus again on kind of what we are doing, and this is engineering, right? And for the first time with that program, we supported actually non-engineering work heavily. So we went into marketing, business development, growth opportunities, event management, open gov coordination. And this was a huge program. It was 5 million dots and $20 million all in back then with the prices we have seen end of 23. We were talking about $55-60 million equivalent.
Wow.
Yeah, but this has basically stopped end of 24 and is now a part of the strategic grants program.
Okay. And then going back to this flywheel that you were talking about?
Yeah, right, the flywheel. So when I arrived at the Web3 Foundation, there was this constant claim that, there was a funding gap within the ecosystem. And I wanted to tackle that. So I'm quite the structured guy. I want to approach solutions in a structured way. So I came up with that conceptually with that flywheel, where we have 5 components, and when we tackle these components and give them a push into the right direction, the whole flywheel should actually activate the self-funding mechanism within the ecosystem. Okay. And let me deep dive quickly into these components. First of all, it starts with the value proposition of Polkadot, with the technology stack, which we are a firm believer in, of course. And then it goes into early stage capital. And if I talk about early stage capital, I don't mean a VC funding. I rather mean projects that need funding before they are ready for VC funding. So we talk about the grants program. Then it's liquidity provisioning. We do liquidity provisioning through different vehicles indirectly into the ecosystem. And this is also something we need to strengthen, basically. We need to push more. This means also that we support actually infrastructure that enables liquidity provisioning, not only directly injecting liquidity into the ecosystem. The third component is multiple capital sources, and that's quite an interesting one, where we had actually focused on the last couple of months. We committed capital to various VCs out there. First, we were focusing on ecosystem VCs, and now we are focusing actually on external VCs and invite them to participate in the ecosystem. This was quite a big push, actually. We had a long list of 25 names. We did some due diligence, of course, and ended up with a short list of roughly 8. And by the end of 25, we will have committed a substantial amount to them, and hopefully onboarded with 6 to 8 of the VCs. This is one layer in that bucket, multiple capital sources, but then there's another one where we focus actually to get more capital, more fresh dry powder in from the TradeFi guys, right? And how we do that is we actually invite them to structure investment products. SPVs, OTC vehicles, but also exchange traded products, where they actually gather money, and then, with the hope that they activate actually the capital contribution into an injection into the ecosystem. And this is going quite well. So I can communicate that we had quite some success the last couple of weeks, and there will be more in the pipeline. The second last component is marketing and communications. This is something that we need to do better. We need to tell people the storyline of Polkadot, about the capabilities, so that we attract more developers into the ecosystem, where they can actually build stuff, and then, of course, attract also end users of these products and applications. Yeah. And last but not least, if all these components are actually pushed into the right direction and the positive momentum is created, hopefully investors who invested into Polkadot will get a decent return relative to their risk taken, of course, and reinvest into the ecosystem. So all in, we are a firm believer that, with that framework, if you push all these components in parallel, actually the self-funding process of the ecosystem will accelerate.
Okay, perfect. That makes a lot of sense. I do want to switch gears a little bit now, moving away from the role of the foundation to talking about Polkadot as a whole, and basically how Polkadot positions itself. So we're all familiar with the parachain auctions that we had in the past. Now we kind of moved to Agile Core time. Nowadays, Polkadot is often described as the AWS of Web3, like a decentralized supercomputer on top of which all kind of decentralized applications can be built. What's your mental model that you use to describe Polkadot?
Yeah, I really like actually that metaphor of AWS, right? And I think one of the core developers of Parity Technologies recently also mentioned that, as well as Bitcoin brought the world calculator, Ethereum basically the world computer, and Polkadot will bring the world cloud or core, multi-core cloud, right? And if you think about it, this is really exciting. People will be able actually to create their own computer, to make their own computer, or even rent multiple computers and deploy their products and services. This is something that hasn't been seen before. This is new.
Yeah. What is also new is Jam. Gavin Wood was here in Hong Kong day before yesterday, on Monday. We had he had a big talk over at Cyberport. We were there as well. It's part of the larger Jam tour. Obviously, Jam is a very complex technical upgrade to Polkadot. It's a major upgrade, and I'm personally very excited about it. I always like to say Jam has not been priced in yet. But what actually is Jam? What's in the simplest terms that you can use? How would you describe what it does and how it improves Polkadot?
Yeah, so first of all, I have to admit I'm not an engineer, right? But I have listening at the talk on Monday and kind of doing my deep dives into the reading and material that is out there. I have two takeaways basically. With Jam, going forward, there is quite a difference to what Polkadot is doing right now. Polkadot is focuses on verifying blockchains right now, and going forward, with Jam, you can basically almost deploy anything you can imagine, really products and services, and even, if I got it right, even kind of Web2 applications on on Jam, right? Which is a breakthrough, basically. And you know, going a little bit into the second factor or takeaway I have as non-engineer is that, you know, I believe there are kind of two clusters of blockchains currently. One is more the monolithic approach from a design approach, where probably Solana is part of. Of course, with that monolithic approach, you have certain pros and cons. The cons are probably on the resilience side, decentralization that is not as strong. And if you want to visualize that, I always, you know, kind of talk about two horses actually drawing a carriage, right? And there are only two horses. So, you know, there's a single point of failure. And with Polkadot, we talk about more the kind of the modular design approach with sharding. And there you have something like 100 chickens drawing a carriage, right? And with these 100 chickens, you have a communication issue at the end, which goes back to the word coherence, I believe, you know. And what I believe is that, or my takeaway with Jam is that Jam will give actually something like a coordination layer over everything. And the services can talk to each other and hook up with each other. And, you know, if they do not need to do that anymore, they basically separate, go back, and come together again. And by doing so, actually, you get the best out of the two worlds, which is amazing, right?
Yeah. You mentioned Jam will enable like a bunch of very new, very exciting applications. What actually are the verticals that you're most excited about for Polkadot moving forward?
Let's focus on the current state first. I think, you know, I'm most excited about everything that needs high throughput, which, you know, the testing that we did end of year showed that Polkadot is capable to do so. We reached like, if I'm not mistaken, more than 140,000 throughputs, transactions per second, which is far better than any other protocol out there. And I also believe that more complex projects that need more kind of complex features are made for Polkadot, basically. And, you know, Polkadot actually is that protocol that should actually draw in these projects. Talking about what these projects are, I think the verticals, for instance, gaming, I'm always kind of interested in that part. Internet of Things or AI. And if we talk about names, you know, for gaming, it's of course Mythical. Then Hydration, our DEX, I really like because of that, also because of that feature which is called Omnipool, where we have an aggregated liquidity pool compared to other protocols, other projects that provide basically just a single asset to single asset liquidity pool. And, you know, kind of one of the emerging projects I like is Acurest, where, you know, the guys try actually to use mobile processing power for distributed computation.
Perfect. I actually think this is a great place to wrap it up, because it is a segue into our next session. You just mentioned a few of the interesting applications that are building on Polkadot at the moment, and some of the new ones that are moving into the Polkadot space. So I think it's a great transition to move to our panel, which is a panel of Polkadot builders and projects that are taking advantage of the Polkadot infrastructure. And they are coming on stage right now, moderated by Tommy. For now, I can say thank you very much, Thomas.
Thank you. Let me just summarize something.
Sorry, what?
Let's reiterate our claim. More truth, less trust, and hopefully going forward, guys, also less noise. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks.